God is good. All the time. All the time. God is good. So this is Memorial Day weekend. We think about our soldiers following the line of duty and humbled by their sacrifice and reminded of our own mortality. When you die, and short of the second coming, each of us in this room will die. And they eulogize you and they rehash your dash. What are they going to say? You know, that little space on your headstone. That little dot that represents how long you were here on earth and how you lived your life. And then maybe you say, well, I don't really care what people say. I'll be dead. What do I care? Right? I didn't care what they said while I was alive. I don't care. All right, how about you yourself? What do you think it's going to be like? Your birth, your death, and you spent 28,854 days. That's the average lifespan in America right now. That's 79 years. For Betty, you set a high standard at 94. I'm hoping to see you at 104. I might not be here when you're 104, but hopefully you'll make it to 104. I love that meme of the Lego box, and it says like from age 4 to 84 or whatever, and it's the grandma having like the 90th birthday, and she's sad. What's it going to be like? What will people say about how you stewarded your brief time here on earth? It's a sobering thought. It's so nice to be carefree. It's so idyllic to pretend like everything is going to go on. But you're going to die. How will you have spent that time? Solomon, in chapter 6, is going to essentially summarize what he said so far in the beginning chapter. So keep that in mind as we look through what Solomon has to say. Some of it's a summary, some of it's a reminder, some of it's an urging. There's an evil I have seen under the sun. And remember, that's his blanket term for life on earth. When I say under the sun, I want you to know it's life on earth. That's Solomon. And it lies heavy on mankind. A man to whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor. Think of those three different things. They're not all the same, right? He has the financial ability to do more because he has the wealth. He has the possession, so he's got an estate. He's got assets, but he also is honored. Remember, Solomon is talking about people who might not be honored, but this guy's got it all. He lacks nothing in all he desires, yet God does not give him power to enjoy them. But a stranger enjoys them, right? He's dead, he's gone, we don't know what happens to this guy, but he had all of these great assets, all of these blessings, but he never got to enjoy it. You need to hold on to that thought. He didn't get to enjoy it. Someone else does. Vanity, a bell, that's striving after the wind, the things you can't grasp. It's a grievous evil. If a man fathers 100 children, remember in Solomon's time, one of the greatest blessings was to have a whole bunch of kids, right? Psalm 127, blessed is the man whose quiver is full, right? That was your lineage. That was your legacy, right? That was what made you important, the more children. So even if you had 100 children and you lived many, many years, so that the days of his life are many, but his soul is not satisfied. Right? So the guy up there didn't get to enjoy it. This guy, he's got all of the blessings of a big family. He doesn't find satisfaction with life's good things. He also has no burial. I say, a stillborn child is better off than he. For it comes in vanity and goes in darkness, and in darkness its name is covered. Moreover, it's not seen the sun, or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he, the guy who really finds that stuff. Even though he should live 1,000 years. So now he's had 100 kids, and now he's going to live 1,000 years twice over, yet enjoy no good. We're not all going to one place. We're all going to die. But you spent some portion of your life doing something. Right? So Solomon is going to say that you can have actions, but no motion. Right? Kind of like a rocking chair. It moves a lot, but you don't get anywhere. Right? You got a lot of action. You got a lot of motion. But listen, productivity, to be productive without enjoyment, is a horrible plight here on earth. The absence of satisfaction in the midst of accomplishment, Solomon says it's beyond sad. You'd have been better off to never, listen, have survived childhood. If you don't find enjoyment with where you're productive, if you can't find satisfaction in your accomplishments, you'd have been better off not making it through the earth. That's how sad, that's how sorrowful, that's essentially to be like, what's the point? So, when we're productive, when we're accomplishment, there is a gift that's there. Sometimes people don't get to receive that. All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is never satisfied. I wonder if Solomon peered into the future and watched me at the charcoal grill and said, man, is that guy never going to get full? Right? Your appetite's never satisfied. Right? What a powerful motivator the mouth is, right? Yet what advantage has the wise man over the fool? And what does the poor man have who knows nothing, right, how to conduct himself before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the appetite. This is also vanity and a striving after the wind. Solomon says the stomach is a powerful motivator, but what drives you after? After you filled your stomach, what is it that still motivates you, right? Maslow's chart, the basic thing at the bottom, you need food and shelter, then you work your way up to the top of what really fulfills you. But what's driving you? What gets your feet out of bed in the morning? That's what Solomon's asking here. Yeah, your hunger may cause you to get up and go to work because you don't want to stay home hungry. But after you find your stomach full, which is never ever going to be completely satisfied because you're going to have to get up and do it again and again and again. What gets you out of bed in the morning? Why do you bother setting your alarm? Right, so all the school kids in Kingsport had their last day this week. Gunner, are you guys out? Okay, so you're out too, right? Girls, you're out of school? Well, Maisie, you're out of school? You don't have to get up for class, so you're not going to set an alarm. So you'll sleep till noon, you'll play video games, you'll shower every 4 or 5 days, right? Your room's going to be... No, we're not going to have that, are we? Why do you get up in the morning? Solomon is giving us a pause here. And we all have to stop and reflect on it. What drives me? What motivates me? What inspires me? What is it that's compelling me to do what I do? It's got to be beyond just the basic meal. There has to be more. And what's the advantage? Right? In Solomon's day, this is part of a genre that we would call wisdom literature. What's the point of trying to sharpen your mind? Why do you want to be wise? What good is it to have common sense? To have intelligence? To be educated? What good is that? Because that takes effort and energy. And what is it any better than being a fool? What does the poor man have who doesn't even know how to conduct himself? These are questions Solomon wants us to mull over, wants us to be awake at night, having a hard time falling asleep until we find the answers. And then he lets you know, not a whole lot's ever changed, and not a whole lot's going to change, right? Whatever has come to be has already been named, and it's known what man is, and that he's not able to dispute with one stronger than he. The more words, the more vanity. No, he's not talking about sermons. He's not saying keep them under 20 minutes, right? Right? The more words, the more vanity. And what is the advantage to man? For who knows what is good for man while he lives the few days of his way of life, which he passes like a shadow. For who can tell man what will You're not going to make any big waves. That's what Solomon's saying. Everything's already been done that could be done. There's no big splashes that happen. So you kind of have to look around and say, is this as good as it's going to get? Is this the best that you can expect? You don't know what's going to happen. The world has a pattern. Human nature takes its course. Nothing's going to change. Don't expect anything new. And as he throws it out, he's leading us. He's leading us, right? He's trying to get us to ask the question, who really knows what's good? What an arrogant position to take for someone to say, here's how you ought to live your life. Boy, it's so hard not to do that, right? The older we get, and the more cantankerous we get, and the more we lose our tolerance with stupidity, and we don't like to argue with foolish people, and we look at young people and we say, get off my lawn! No, that's not what we say. Well, we do, but here's what you should do. Oh, when you get older, you should do this. You should live your life like that. Solomon says, who really knows what is good, right? He's asking the question, if you remember the first several verses, how are you going to find satisfaction? How are you going to find purpose? Where will you find fulfillment? And I've wrestled with this verse for a week in my head. Who knows what's good? Really, who are we to tell anyone how to live? Right? But the few days he lives of his life, which passes like a shadow, who can tell a man what will be after him under the sun here on earth? Is he talking about the afterlife? Or is he talking about the man's legacy? What he leaves behind? How his influence has shaped the next generation? What he has done to make the world a better place or a worse place? What is he talking about? Or could it be both? Could it be what's to say the afterlife is, or how your influence will change and shape those behind you? So the big question becomes, your life passes quickly like a shadow. And you don't know what it's going to be like when you're gone. How will you spend those precious few hours that you've been alive? That 28,850 days, 79 years comes out to 692,496 hours. And you're like, Craig, there's a half hour of my life I can't get back. Don't waste it anymore. You know, Bugs Bunny had a good saying that I like. It's a different story when the rabbit's on the other end of the It puts things into a different perspective. When you're young, you're a teenager, and the world is your oyster, you think you're going to live forever. You can't envision aches and pains. My aches and pains have aches and pains, okay? You can't envision the doctor's visits that you go into, or the illnesses, or the weaknesses of the body, or your body starts to break down. You can't think that you're going to die. And maybe that's why God has established old age the way he has. Like, we could have just stayed young and static for whatever our time was here on earth, right? You could have been born, whatever you think the prime is of your health, 20, 35, whatever you think the prime age is, and just live that way until the day you die. Maybe God allows old age to set in to remind us that we are mortals, that we only have 28,854 days on average, right? Nobody wants to think about it. Nobody wants to think, how do I spend this precious time before it's gone? We are in a day and age where we are masters of distraction. We have every kind of streaming service, social media, video game, movie, whatever you want to name it. We are masters at distracting ourselves from the reality. This life is short. I don't care how they talk about me at my funeral, right? Good. I don't care if you do or don't. You should care for your own self. How will you spend these precious few years, days, hours? And according to what we've seen so far in the book of Ecclesiastes, enjoyment is superior to mere pleasure. That's what Solomon's saying. You could have all the things that bring pleasure. He says it over and over. He said it himself, if you remember the first few chapters. I didn't deny myself anything. I went for it all. I went in all in. Chips all in. Right? I had all of the women. I had all of the gardens. I had all of the projects. I did everything I wanted. I didn't deny myself anything. And it was emptiness. Solomon is telling us enjoyment is superior to pleasure, comfort, entertainment. That won't buy. That won't sell. That won't fly in our culture. People think you're an idiot if you say that. YOLO, right? You only live once. I'm just gonna go out there and no. Enjoyment is better than the pleasure, the comfort, the entertainment. In fact, Solomon has said it several times. To enjoy what we have is a gift from God. To enjoy the experience is a gift. And the elusive nature of satisfaction is directly related to what our pursuits are. Solomon wants us to stop and think, what are your desires? What are your pursuits? What are your priorities? What's your direction? What's the goal you're going to go for as you use those precious few days, as he would say, under the sun, here on earth? He says it over and over. You can have it all and feel empty. Solomon says that's the most grievous evil that there is on the face of the earth. To be able to have everything that you could ever want and then feel empty. Like Stephen Covey said, and I'm sure he plagiarized it from someone else, when you climb the ladder to the top, what a terrible feeling it is to find out you had the ladder against the wrong wall. Not to give you any PTSD over there, Tal. It's a metaphorical ladder, not a real one. Okay? Or my buddy Frank, if he's watching. We had a bad experience with the ladder. Having it all, feel empty. And how could Solomon write that? Because he did it. He went for it all. And it left him feeling less than empty. I'm convinced the more I read through Ecclesiastes that this is not some inconsequential abstract theory about what's the meaning of life, what's the good life, what's the purpose of life. Solomon looks out and he sees a world filled with uncertainty. Isn't it mad? It's amazing how that hasn't changed today. We think we have things figured out, and we think, like last week, Trump was going to call Putin on the phone, and they're going to try to negotiate peace, and they didn't get anywhere. I thought for sure they were going to get somewhere. I thought I had that figured out. Like, okay, been like 3 years. No, it's uncertain. The people over in that region, unstable, uncertain. Life hasn't changed back in his time, in our time. And there's an absence of fairness. Solomon goes so hard to describe injustice, oppression, problems. It's nothing new and it's not going away. And I think of all the books of the Bible, Solomon is the most pessimistic character I've ever read. He's no Eeyore. It's not all gloom and doom, but he doesn't offer very many guarantees. So in a world full of uncertainties, in a world filled with unfairness, a world filled with very few guarantees, what are you going to do with that dash? are you going to do with that precious little bit of time you've been allocated? All that he has said is channeling us into a direction. Like cattle being herded into a chute, right? It's funneling down to the question at hand. What's the best way to spend your 28,000 plus days? What will you do with it? Here's the question. What is the good life? Philosophers have debated this since the days of Socrates. Socrates, right? Socrates, dude, you gotta be old to know that movie. Right? They've been debating it since Socrates. What is the good life? Not only what is the good life, how do I live it? Well, next week, Lord willing, we'll take a peek into what Solomon has to say about that. All right, let's stand, shall we?